I think we're ready to call the meeting to order. I see the first item on our agenda is special business. Can I defer to you, Director Holloway?
Thank you, Madam President, Commission members. We do have a visitor today that would like to have a few words with the commission. I would like to introduce the mayor of our great city, Mayor Lauren McLean.
Great.
Was this put down here special for me? Hi, everybody, Madam President, Madam Vice President. Appreciate the chance to be here today and just say a couple things. I'm visiting with different commissions right now to express my thanks. I mean, you see Councilmember Morales, I think, often, but the thanks of the council as well as my own for the service that you provide our city. And it's funny, when I walked in here, when I was on the Parks Board back in the day, I met Doug when my daughter was probably 2. She's 25 now, so it was a long time ago. But it was, we were in the old room in the library, like folding tables and chairs. So I walked in and just had a flashback, but then realized, I mean, this is so much more in line with the service and the work that each of you do. But as you know, reflecting on that too, when I got to serve as a Parks Commissioner, it was the first volunteer service I provided the city, and I learned so much and felt even more connected to the place that Scott and I called home with our kids. My kids often came in tow with me for these 4 o'clock meetings on whatever day they were. But not only did I learn so much and feel more connected to the city that I loved, but I got to work on real stuff. And that's what's I think, so fun and gratifying about the work as a commissioner, but why I'm so appreciative to each and every one of you for the work that you do, because the plans that you're reviewing now, whether it be master plan updates that you're looking at today or other things, will have, impact for whoever it is that's standing here and sitting there 20 years from now, and will be enjoyed by the kiddos that are tiny now. 20 years from now is hopefully they're bringing their kids back to enjoy those same parks. So thank you for that. This morning we had fun. You've got a great team of people in the parks department, and we had fun throwing dirt for the Goddard linear pathway that Doug asked me last week if I had a name for. And I said today, I'm like, Doug, I need more than a week. But it was so cool to think about that project. And I appreciate it was Open Space and Clean Water Advisory Committee that said, yes, this is in line with our mission and the use of levy funds. But then you all as well that agreed to the vision. And, the idea came from community members that had long been looking at this piece of dirt along a canal. It required partnership with the canal company and the donation of the land. Of course, we worked with ACHD to get everything squared away so we get started. And then today we got to celebrate that. And I think that by fall, I think Doug and team said, we'll be actually seeing a real park with a pathway that's long and lean, and will connect pretty much Spalding Ranch to Hyatt Hidden Lakes Reserve. But what'd you say? 800 some new houses will have a 10-minute walk to the park?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, 680 households, but almost 2,000 residents will be within a 10-minute walk now when we open that up.
Yeah, which is just wonderful. And there were so many residents from the neighborhood that were there with us this morning. And I asked them, who was from the neighborhood and who walked. And I think everybody kept their hand up. They'd all walked to celebrate. So thanks for your part in that. And in acknowledgement of the service you all provide, I have I shouldn't say I have some certificates of appreciation that I just wanted to leave with each of you, and then let you go back on with your business. But thank you so much for everything you do. Really appreciate you.
And Madam President, Commission members, you heard the mayor say where she started in her career as a commissioner. Now she's mayor, so get to work.
Thanks,
everybody.
thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
That's a lovely surprise. Thank you. Moving on to our next item will be our roll call, please.
Urban,
Here.
Baber,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
Burnham,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Mazu,
Here.
Stidham, Raber.
Here.
Great. On to our new business today. The first item is the approval of the February 15th, 2024 minutes. Is there a motion?
I move we approve the minutes.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Wonderful. All in favor? Aye. Great. The minutes have been accepted. Let's see, on to our first item of the day. We have a presentation requested, I believe, by Jason Miller. Wonderful. We'll welcome you up to talk about the Charles McDevitt Youth Sports Complex Master Plan update, and then move into our public hearing portion after that. Great.
Commissioners, thank you for having me. My name is Jason Miller, and I'm the Design and Development Project Manager with the Boise Park and Recreation. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the Charles McDevitt Youth Sports Complex Master Plan. I'm here today with Ian Mancini, who is a very talented landscape architect who joined our team pretty much as the project kicked off in October and has led it along the way. So he's been working kind of behind the scenes to put together the new master plan for the park. Let's see. The park is located in West Boise in the northwest corner of the intersection of Eagle and McMillan. It's approximately 30 acres of developed land with 10 acres that is not developed. This will really be the last piece of the puzzle of the overall master plan for McDevitt Park. And currently there are 7 baseball fields, including a playground, a restroom, a skate park, a fishing pond, and open areas within the park. So if approved by City Council, the Boise Park and Recreation will have the approximately $1.2 million to invest into the park beginning in this fall. This funding is generated by impact fees within the area, and the fees are required to meet service demands associated with growth and to be spent on new park amenities. The discussion today really is regarding the amenities proposed for the remaining 10 acres or the undeveloped portion of McDevitt Park. So starting in October, our team began the public outreach and process to obtain feedback and input from the stakeholders at McDevitt. The Centennial Neighborhood Association was engaged and informed about the upcoming master plan effort. And then on December 6th, our team of Bonnie Shelton, Chloe Salabanks, Sarah Collings, Ian Mancini, Trevor Kesner, and Dan Falconer, we all attended the open house. And we had a really large group that came out with many, many questions for McDevitt. We had many conversations with the public about the master planning effort process, and the event launched the initial survey, which received over 800 responses. So following this, 2 initial design alternatives were developed, and I'll let Ian tell you more about those alternatives, kind of our process, results, and feedback that we received as we worked through this design.
Thank you, Jason. Good evening, everyone. As Jason said, I am Ian Mancini, and I'm the relatively new landscape architect for the Parks Department. And this was my first big project coming into the department, the C.W. Moore Master Plan. So as Jason said, we did a series of public input. The first one was to go over 2 potential options for the park, which I will go over. Is that backwards? So our public input, we had an open house in December where we invited people to the school next door to present the design and take some input at that meeting. And then we proceeded to put the survey online to gauge the public's interest in 2 different designs. Or I'm sorry, in I'm sorry, two different designs. Yeah. So the first one being a more traditionally sports-oriented design, including a few new sports courts, as well as a sports field, playground, and a water play feature. And then the second design, which was a more, I'll say, action sports-oriented design, including addition to the skate park, a pump track, a series of mountain bike trails, as well as a new nature play area, which was in the first one, and also a basketball court. Um, and those were sort of the primary features. The secondary features, which exist in both, are a new plaza-style entrance to the park coming off the parking lot to the east, uh, the completion of the walking trail which surrounds the park, and then an addition of native planting areas that were in both designs. And through that public survey, what we determined, or I guess the results rather, pointed at the secondary design being the choice really, which was the more action sports oriented design, which I think we all preferred as it better diversified the options and amenities that were available in the park. I think, as the park exists now, it's sort of homogeneous. The baseball fields are really the main component of it, and with all the undeveloped land, what we were really looking for was to increase the user base, and we thought that this would be a very good option to do that. So with further feedback, we developed that design into the final product, which is what is on the screen now. So all of the amenities are the same as they were in the second option that was given to the public in the first round of surveys, with the addition of the dog park, which there was a pretty big outcry for that among the public comments, which were in addition to the actual voted survey results. So because of the cost effectiveness of putting in a dog park and the substantial increase to user base, we decided to include that. You just hear some of the some precedent images for the amenities that we want to incorporate into the park. I'm gonna take back over, Jason. All right, so I'll hand it back over to Jason to finalize the presentation.
Yeah, so our next steps are to hold the public hearing today to hear additional feedback. If the updated design is approved, then the impact fee funding to build out the new amenities is anticipated to be available as early as fiscal year 2025, which would be this upcoming October essentially. And the budget for this, the enhancements, is expected to be 1.2, as I did mention earlier. We feel confident based on the interest in the public and the amenities that are proposed that we can achieve the master plan that we have presented here today. So with that, we'd stand for any questions regarding the process or the master plan.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners or council members?
Do I need to ask? you
Nope,
for-
you're fine. Go ahead.
I just had a question on the feedback, the survey feedback. It looked like Boise Dev was a really popular place where you all made a lot of online connection. However, it looked like a lot of the people that were providing feedback also don't use the park. And so I'm kind of curious as to how you try and decipher that data of online feedback versus neighborhood feedback.
Yeah, Commissioner, I think that's a that's a great question. It's not an easy one, right? I mean, this park is on the very edge of Boise. In a lot of ways, some of the use of the park is from nearby members as well. It's something we definitely considered throughout the process. I felt like through the neighborhood association and the stakeholder groups that we reached out to, we got pretty precise information specific to the needs of the park users who are, within walking distance of the park. So as much as we could, we vetted that information, and we wanted to ensure that that was a consideration within the process. It's really difficult to kind of break out every individual comment and feedback, but given how consistent the data was, we felt confident that what we received was from the members who were adjacent to the park.
I can help him. I'm Bonnie Shelton. I'm the Communications and Marketing Superintendent. With our surveys, we always ask for demographic information, and we asked for addresses and zip codes along with the feedback. And we were able to parse out people who lived around the park versus anyone from Boise or outside Boise. And the feedback was very similar, the breakdowns percentage-wise for the people who lived around the park and the overall feedback that we got. So we felt pretty confident that those results were true to the people who live around the park as well and who use it daily.
Thank you.
One question I have is, out of the 37% that did not like that design, what were some of the challenges that were identified or concerns that were identified?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. I think the main drive behind that was the public's desire for diversifying the park. As it sits now, it is mostly just used for baseball. And I think that kind of goes, in hand with what Bonnie was saying, what Jason was addressing. The goal for this park was to increase the diversity. And I think with what it offers now, probably other than the little leagues, it's mostly just local people going to enjoy the park, like people that live directly near it. And because of the size of the park, we really wanted to open that up to the city. And I think the survey results just reflected that.
And Madam President, Commissioner Walker, I think it's more of looking at it through the lens of 37% liked the other option better because they liked what was in that option at the end of the day versus, the 63% in option 2. But we did get feedback both ways, like, hey, could you put this in? And that's where the dog park component came in on option 2, is that we heard enough from our survey results that folks wanted to see a dog park, so that got added in. We could afford to do that. But I think it was just more of like, hey, we like the components there. Can you do the water feature too? And it's like, no, we can't do a water feature in addition to what we're doing because we don't have the funding to be able to do that. So some of that give and take occurs, but for the most part, I think Ian hit it on the head. This is really the diversification of the park. It's really a youth sports complex and has been, and now it's going to be regular community park at the end of the day.
Madam President, just a few comments. First of all, thank you. Thank you to the city for the process. This has been a really incredible journey for us in West Boise. As others have mentioned, this has been a park that's had a lot of potential, and we've been waiting to get to see it come to fruition, and appreciate all that you've done to particularly engage our neighborhood association, which is the Centennial Neighborhood Association. It is the newest neighborhood association in the city of Boise. And this has been a really galvanizing issue for a lot of folks in West Boise to help them feel like they're part of Boise. One thing I think is always important for us to know is that because of our area, we have people who may not live in our city who use our parks. And, I will go to Kleiner Park. That's in Meridian. We have people who come to Catherine Albertson Park. I think this is a very similar park in that vein because it's just right on the corner of Boise and Meridian, and Eagle's just down the road. So we know that Idahoans in our sister cities are going to be coming to it, and that's a wonderful amenity to build community. And I just appreciate all your work because I know that it's been a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
I have a few comments. At one time, many years ago, this was, I think, reserved for, was it rugby or lacrosse? Lacrosse. It was lacrosse. Okay, so they had a opportunity to create funds to bring this to fruition, and they've been notified, or have they given up that right?
Yeah, Madam President, Commissioner Raber, yes, one of the local associations, lacrosse associations had an agreement with the city, a time frame for fundraising opportunities, and weren't able to meet some of those guidelines. We continued to work with them because we didn't really have any other scheduled use for that 10 acres. But it came a point in time where at some point we needed to move on and work with the neighborhood on developing the area. And it really didn't appear that there was going to be an opportunity to put lacrosse fields in there. So we moved on. And the answer to the second part of your question is yes, they had been informed a couple of years ago that we were moving down this road with this process.
Okay, great. And then I noticed a lot of comments requesting pickleball. So what was the concept or the thought behind not offering any pickleball here?
Mhm. I think the main one is the location of the nearby houses. And I think we have sort of an informal guideline on how close we're willing to put pickleball to homes, just because of how disruptive the noise is. And unfortunately, in McDevitt, there's simply nowhere to put one where it wouldn't disrupt the nearby houses.
And Madam President, Commissioner Raber, also the cost of putting the pickleball courts would have substantially put a dent in the budget we had to do any other amenities. So we really would be just doing pickleball courts. And we do have, I'm not sure what the distance is if we have that to Hobble Creek, but we have a 12-court complex on Eagle Road, off of Eagle Road, at our Hobble Creek Community Park as well.
Close by, yeah. Okay. And then I think even Settlers Park, which is probably Meridian Park, they have quite a few there. Yeah, okay. Well, I was impressed with the feedback that was generated from this. 400 people responded, and so that's a great sampling. So I'm impressed with what the result has been. So nice work.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for the great conversation. I think we're ready to close the presentation portion and move into our public hearing. As a reminder for everyone on the audience or online, we ask for 3 minutes for individuals. If you are representing a neighborhood association, let us know, and that will be given 10 minutes. But we would like, as your name is called, if you'd come to the podium and please state your name and address before your time begins. The first person who has signed up for the public testimony is Gary, and I'm going to apologize in advance for all names said today. Gary Default. Please come.
Thank you, son. Thank you all. I am Gary Defoe, Defoe, whatever gets me to lunch. I live at 13487 West Hazelnut Street in Boise, Idaho, pretty much at the corner of McMillan and Eagle Road. I've been the president of Centennial Neighborhood Association for 3 years now. We've been in existence for 4 years. And all I want to do today is convey to you our appreciation for bringing the completion of this park to fruition. I know I've worked with a lot of people, and our district representative, Lucy Willits, and we want to give our appreciation for that. We're very excited. I'm going to let Joe Legue, who represents us on the details, take whatever time I have of that 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Joe Legue. I live at 14435 West Guinness Drive in Boise, Idaho. President Urban, commissioners, Councilmember Willits, thank you. This is a great opportunity, and I think you stole my words, but we're anticipating that we're bringing to fruition completion of an exceptional park with a lot of history. I think most of you know that. What our role as the Centennial Neighborhood Association has been, and I've served on the board as with Gary for several years. We've always wanted to pursue the opportunity to pursue a very collaborative approach with the city. And this one is exemplary in terms of the opportunity that's been given to us. Hopefully when we reach completion of the park, it will be worthy of a encore rededication, and hopefully all of us will be out there for it because it's really looking exciting. We had a meeting of the Centennial Neighborhood Association on April 11th. In fact, we rescheduled that meeting from the 18th today to the 11th. So in fact, we could get everybody to come in and participate and give us their thoughts on this. And this was one of the core items on our agenda. And then here we are bringing results to you from what happened then. There is genuine community interest and a lot of passion in this park. I can tell you that. And I think that you've seen that from some of the responses that you've seen in your packet. We got some feedback at this meeting on the final options. And of course, having options 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2 merged into what's really a final option. And then we had some discussion on that there. We don't need 10 minutes today. I will be brief. We support the plan. There's no doubt about it. And we have a small ask that we might share with you. I did have the opportunity to speak to Jason Miller about it as well, and I appreciate that time. Thank you. 3 things on this small ask: multi-use park, pathway, and picnic tables. Now, here's the cool thing. The multi-use park already exists. Where we've outlined up on the screen there, that big red outline box, that's an existing piece of turf right there that, if with a little bit of relocation and in the final design stages of the native as well as the landscaping to the north, there's about 400 feet there that from the backstop that sits out there right now that could actually be used as it exists as a multi-use small flag football, probably something on the order of 30 yards by 80 yards. Nothing huge. It's never going to accommodate a full-size football field or a soccer field or a full-size regulation lacrosse, but it's a great place for people to, even adults, to play flag football, and kids, and put up some soccer posts and bring your own gear, mark your own kind of thing. So we're simply asking that maybe there's an opportunity to preserve that. In addition, we've noticed that there's a trail, the beaten path, that kids ride their bicycles in through that north entry where you see the blue highlight. That's coming in from the north entry from Candlestick Park. Kids ride their bicycles straight across that thing, cut a diagonal through that area because it's all basically open turf right now, straight to the playground. If we give them a pathway, a hardscape pathway, they'll probably use that for their bicycles rather than trying to deal with the grass. So it would somewhat preserve that park as well. And it would also complement the existing pathways that are already out there at the park. And then finally, and I think Mr. Miller had mentioned that is, pardon me, part of the intention anyway is to outfit some picnic tables on some round pads out there so they can be mowed around and so forth. So in summary, most of what's there other than the pathway is existing right now. The minor modification for those folks that might have wanted to have a multi-use field, it exists right now. There's another one to the south of the playground, direct center of the diagram there, of the graphic. Not quite large enough, but still another actual multi-use play field right there. So when you complement everything that's existing out there now and bringing this in, it's going to be great. And people are going to be really sad to see all the goat heads leave on that part of the dirt. In conclusion, again, thank you very, very much. I guess we would have to say, what's next and how can we help? And we're ready to do that for you. I'll stand for any questions, as will my colleague, if you wish.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I do have one question, sir.
Great.
Thank you. I guess I'm a little confused as to the open space that's in the red rectangular area. How could that not be? Couldn't you duplicate that use on an outfield of one of the baseball fields?
Multi-use. I mean, the baseball fields get engaged, and using those center areas within the baseball fields may or may not lend themselves well, but I don't think what we wanted to do is have people wanting to do multi-use encroaching on the existing baseball fields. Those are well-used fields, I promise you that. And as I said, the turf that exists there right now, it's there. The sprinklers are there. It's merely a matter of design relocation of where we're putting item 6, which I'm sorry is blocked out by the bottom of that box. That's the native, which is a great idea. In fact, if the pathway actually went right through some of the middle of that native landscaping, that might give kids a better, and adults, a better sense of what's actually in the interior of that. It's a consideration for Jason Miller and his team. But again, the fact is that that turf is already there right now. It's just a matter of let's not eliminate it by encroaching upon it with the new features that aren't necessarily going to be as valuable, especially landscaping to the north, as would be the open field space.
Thank you.
I have a quick question as well.
Yes, ma'am.
I couldn't tell from the graphic, the native plant pollinator planting area, where would that be relocated, or would it be reduced in size? And then what would happen to that pathway that goes around the park? Because it looks like the field might, I can't tell from the graphic if it would cover up some of that pathway.
Okay, to clarify on the second part of your question, the blue pathway thing that we're talking about?
No, number 9, I think it is. It's
Way
I
up
think
there on the north.
It's a path that goes around the park. When I looked at other graphics, yeah.
Right.
But
And it may well be that the budget consideration does not permit that we can add another pathway in here. That would be probably of everything that we're asking today, that might be the expense feature. However, what you have right now in that pathway that comes across, and I'll tell you that number one is that that box is not necessarily to scale that I've drawn in there. And the pathway that's coming across number 9, that would be the east-west pathway that goes the entire perimeter on north of the park, is not necessarily drawn as it exists. It actually, instead of coming straight across the top of the park, it actually makes a curve. We call it the pathway to nowhere because it goes right into the middle of the dirt field and stops right there. But it makes a curve as it's heading towards the field. So it actually moves out a little bit from the fences of the homes to the north. It's not a straight path. As it exists right now, it could probably continue to exist, as opposed to what might be represented there in concept, that we'd be relocating that pathway to put it right next to the fences, if that helps. And I apologize. We've done a lot of site visits out there. We've kicked the tires many, many times. I mean, it's like I could walk this thing in my sleep now, right? So we're bringing that kind of, knowledge of the park to you as well.
And then
And then the second part?
the pollinator area, would it be moved or reduced in size?
And a good question. Again, being that that's not to scale, it's conceivable that the designers, from the concept into the actual detailed design, don't have to do a whole lot as far as adjustment of the northern border of the pollinator park. I would leave that up to, when they get down there with the final measurements and grading and survey as to what kind of a design they could put in there. But again, we're only looking for about 30 yards across with a little bit of space to sit on both sides. That's not a lot. There's actually quite a bit of space out there to work with in that area right now.
Thank you.
Madam President, if Jason, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know we've had conversations with the neighborhood association on these amenities. So if you wanted to just address it really quick on where you're at with it, that might solve any other questions our commission may have.
Thank you. So yeah, the main thing I wanted to point out is that Joe has brought forward some really great questions. I appreciate him doing that. He has a lot of knowledge of the site, and we value that. And what we're really looking at now is more of a master plan level. So as we start to get into the very nitty details of how the pavement connects and all of that, our intent is to make sure that we have a continuous loop around the park and that residents can enjoy that. The scale and the shape of the natural area and the pollinators, we'll take that in consideration based on our budget and changes to irrigation design and all of that into the scope of this. And again, I think they're all great comments. They're just kind of where we're going to be headed next, which will be a more detailed design. So.
Madam President and commission members, so essentially what you'll be approving is the master plan as is, with the concept that we will look at how our budget looks. Jason's team will go back and take into consideration the comments that we received from the neighborhood association this past week and see if those can be implemented. It will not impact what you're approving on the master plan update. So if we can accomplish those things, great. If we can't, because of budget considerations, it might be something we do down the road as well, potentially.
Go ahead.
President Urban, if I may, what Director Holloway just said is precisely what we're asking for, is the consideration of that. If the pathway were to be there, it would keep people from cutting across on bicycles and, you know, putting a track in the middle of that field. If it's not, we'll live with it. There are budget concerns, but
Thank you.
this is a great opportunity, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for clarifying kind of the process piece of how the master plan approval will work, and continued conversation with the neighborhood association. Sounds like a great plan. So thank you for that. And can I just confirm you did sign up as also on the list? Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure we got everyone in the room the opportunity to speak before seeing if we have anyone online to give testimony.
Madam President, we have, I believe, one individual online willing to speak. Eric Lawler, I'm going to go ahead and give you the ability to speak via Zoom.
Hello. All right. Hi, I'm Eric Lawler, and I live at 13355 West Bluebonnet Drive in Boise, right across the street in Hobble Creek. Just wanted to take the time just to say thank you to Jason Miller and the landscape architect team. This is definitely a project that, after first seeing it in Boise Dev, like immediately piqued our interest, just as far as we have 5 little kids. And after moving to Hobble Creek 3 years ago, there's not any amenities quite like what's been proposed in the master plan. And so just working under the assumption that mostly in government, you receive vitriol from the public instead of support, just wanted to +1 everything shared by the Centennial Neighborhood Association, and just thank you for the thoughtful design. You know, thank you for the inclusion, especially of the bike pump track, which is a very unique feature that you've got to go all the way to the military reserve in the whole area just to be able to use a facility like that. So just the opportunity to like spend more time outside and actually take advantage of McDevitt Park, which, you know, to the point of the commissioner was asking about participation from infrequent park users, like definitely our family falls into that category of not using the sort of semi-pro youth rec league baseball that happens there, not keen fishermen. So there's not much draw at with the existing park facilities. And so see it more of as a place to come home with goat heads in your tires versus go to enjoy the beautiful weather and have that opportunity to just exercise the kids on the bike trails and at the pump track. So just very excited to see something like this get built, and just wanted to thank you for the planning process that led to this.
Thank you.
We just had a new Zoom member join, Jody. Jody, are you willing or wishing to speak regarding the McDevitt master plan?
Sure, I would like to say something. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you. If you'd like to state your name and address, we'll allow 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Jody Cassiopo and my address is 13889 West Comiskey Court. I actually back up to this section of park. So I just wanted to say, I mean, I was a strong proponent of option 1, just wanting the open space.
Sorry, Jody, looks like the mic just got muted.
Okay, I unmuted it again. Can you hear me now?
Ken.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So I back up to that section of park, like I was saying. Option 1 was my preference, but option 2 will be fun as well. I was my only comments were, I know the Centennial Neighborhood Association has wanted to put an extra path in. I do not think there needs to be an extra path, and my kids often walk home from the park for school, so I would be against the addition of a path that cuts any sort of greenery out. I like the idea of green sections. My only concern was the basketball court being down the basketball section, which was excited. My kids were excited that was going to be in there. My only concern was that being down by the pond. And the option for basketballs to more easily go into the pond. If the basketball court were moved farther away, that might be a better option. So those really were my only comments, but I'm excited for the park to be developed, and I'm excited for the path to go all the way around the park and there to be some more trees and shade and things like that. So I'm excited for that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Great. Well, I think that concludes our public hearing, so we can go ahead and close that section and move on to adopting the staff recommendation if there's a motion to do so.
I approve. I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
don't
I
approve.
think it's
approve.
okay.
I will approve. That's why I'm moving, but I move we approve the revised master plan for the Charles F. Devitt Youth Sports Complex Park.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Great. It appears the motion passes. Any opposed? Apologies. Okay. Hearing none, we can move forward and accept that outcome. Great. Thank you again to the team and the neighborhood association and everyone for being a part of that project. It looks wonderful.
Yeah, Madam President, Commission members, I just want to shout out to Ian. Nice work on your very first project coming in. Great work. Great engagement, great plan. So nice work, Jason and Ian, on that. We appreciate your work.
Great. We'll move straight into the next master plan then. We'll start with the presentation on CW Moore Parks Master Plan update and then move into the public hearing next. Welcome back, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you. So CW Moore Park serves as the downtown community and provides a wonderful place to enjoy a coffee, lunch, or a few moments on a park bench during a vibrant, ever-growing city. It is an urban park that has served our downtown community for over 90 years. The park was originally deeded to the city as a playground and park for children. After different uses moved into and out of the park was rededicated again in 1981 in its current form. So the park was designed with a host of amenities, including a drinking fountain, an open lawn, a water runnel, benches, receptacles, and bike racks. The charm of the park is in its location, its respite for shade, and its enduring elements. And the park is reservable for events such as weddings and family gatherings are frequently held at the park. In addition to the site amenities, it includes a water wheel representing the Grove Street Canal, a sandstone arch entry of the former Bush Building, and the W.E. Pierce Tower Cap, which is a kiosk. Also, it is home to several artifacts from the urban renewal movement in the 1970s. The artifacts are leased in an agreement with the Idaho State Historical Society within the park. So the park has evolved quite a bit since its original design into more of what I would consider a mature park. The trees and plantings are approaching mature size, and the results have really led to damage to the surrounding path, sidewalk, and the need to evolve the planting from a more exposed sun to a shade in terms of the planting scheme for the park. The existing water feature separates the lawn from the open plaza both visually and functionally. And additionally, seating is needed throughout the park, and the park access along the alley needs to be brought up to current ADA standards. As event sizes and requests have increased over the years, the park has really retained its nostalgia despite the need for modern accommodations. And events that are held at the park on weekends and evenings have resulted in increased need for a restroom. The park will be receiving a new sidewalk restroom in spring, summer of this year. So CCDC has brought funds forward are available for the improvements of the park as a result of the sunsetting of the nearby district. And the funds will be are allowed to repair the damaged paving, improve ADA access within the park, install the historical plaques that were in the original design but were never installed, and for storytelling and public engagement, and improve upon the natural play areas within the park while adding much needed seating. So this master plan update is needed to kind of bring the park forward into its future role and into the community. Ian has put together an updated vision for the park, and it will really build on the narrative and the history of the park. And I'll let him kind of go through the proposed master plan to update the park.
So Jason went over, I think, some of our vision for this park, and I just wanted to reiterate really the goals here. The main one being to refresh the park, which is the idea of the master plan in general, and some parts of that are fixing up a lot of the destructed side or plaza that has been ruined from the trees, incorporating an element for kids to play on, and then a strategic way to make a cohesive area for some of these historical artifacts that are currently, I would say, just placed in the park into a more centralized area that makes more sense. As well as Jason said, increasing the ADA accessibility for the park. So with that, we have the new master plan design. So this has a number of new features in it. The most prominent ones being a new historical artifact monument or centerpiece, which would be in that circular area to the northwest of the park. No, I'm sorry, northeast of the park. The second one would be a new an update to the lawn amphitheater area is how we're looking at it, with a concrete ledge seating, and that sort of focuses down to the water wheel and where we would place a new sort of play amenity for children, which would be comprised of some boulders and more concrete ledges, sort of a naturalized play area incorporated in the park. And then I think the third most prominent element would be sort of a formal plaza walk area, which is where number 4 is located, and that would be a brick paved area underneath the shade of those large trees within the park. And I have some 3D renderings sort of help represent what these items would look like. I also would mention one of the big parts of this is refinishing and refurbishing a lot of the existing public amenities on site, as well as some of the historical artifacts. So that would consist of redoing the benches, which need it, new paint and new seat planks, as well as repainting and refinishing some of the historical pillars and blocks that are currently on the site. And I think the overall idea behind the design of this is to take a plaza, which I think currently feels fairly open, and create some more intimate spaces within it that feel a little more special. I understand the desire of this park for different events, specifically weddings and things. So we thought adding a new backdrop to some of that stuff that felt more special would be the best direction to go in. So the next steps after today's public hearing, if the park is approved, to build the park within fiscal year 2025, and the current budget for it is $350,000. So I would open this up to questions. You have to apologize. This is my first commission meeting.
Doing great.
You're doing fine, Ian.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I have a question, Ian. What were your thoughts behind the brick? It's just an interesting feature to me, the brick walkway. Kind of what do you envision that being?
Of course, yeah. So I think the current plaza is made out of, it's just concrete, but it looks like pavers. So it almost looks like stone pavers. And I thought we would just build on that with more of a formal plaza space that feels much more intimate. The warmth of bricks and kind of closing that space in would really add to that feel, and almost make it feel like it's its own space while you're in it, even though it's obviously a walkway through the park.
I have a question. Do you know if the trees on the northeast corner are going to be removed, or are they going to stay the same?
back up to this plan here. So you're referring to the trees around where the circular plaza is at number 1?
Yes, right, to the left of number 1.
Yeah, those will all remain. Our intention is to clean that up a bit and maybe refresh the planting in that area because it's fairly homogeneous right now, sort of to add to that sense of a backdrop for different events.
Are you familiar with the sidewalk that's on the north side of the property that kind of terminates into shrubbery?
You're referring to the alley?
Well, no, I'm referring to a fairly newer section of pavement that stops into landscape, and then you have to go into the alley to continue to walk through. I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be a good idea to continue that sidewalk.
I'm afraid at the moment I can't visualize that.
Okay.
Madam President, Commissioner Raber, are you referring to where item 8 is heading east?
Correct. But that picture doesn't show it as accurately as Google Earth does as I'm driving down the alley.
I'm not sure
There's
where,
an opportunity to connect sidewalks, I guess, is what I'm thinking of. Because this sidewalk just stops and then you have to walk into the alley until you get towards the end of the park. And then there's another sidewalk along the apartment complex.
Commissioner Raber, we'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
If you had anything else to add, Jason, otherwise we can certainly take a look at that and see.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I believe that what you're talking about now, it's just kind of it ends there with the wall. Is that correct? What
There
you're
is a
saying?
retaining wall to the right, yes.
Yeah, so right now that's where the portable restrooms are stored and that walk doesn't actually run along that alley. And so with the new restroom that's going to be going in there, that section actually gets removed and goes back to planting.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, great. Oh,
Madam President, this might be a better question for Doug. Doug, will you remind me about the fiscal source of this money? As I recall, some of it was federal, but was some of it city money as well? Aha, Sarah.
Madam President, Council Member Willets, I believe Sarah Arkle will explain how this all got cobbled together.
Commissioners, you're up for a whole suite of park players today, so happy to be here. Sarah Arkle, Parks Resources Superintendent. I'll try not to go into too much detail with the story that ended up bringing us here today, but ultimately CCDC has funding that needs to be invested within this urban renewal district before they sunset at the end of fiscal year 2025, which was the catalyst for our ability to look at what's possible at CW Moore Park. And almost 3 years ago, when I started in this position, we were in front of CCDC's board to get feedback on a proposed master plan update. And at that time, the board and the feedback that we were getting was, not only do we like your options and opportunities to refresh the park, but we also really feel a need for a bathroom here, given the feedback we've received through the visioning effort from 2020 that CCDC, it was a very large engagement effort that they embarked on in 2020, and also just from their constituents from the Downtown Business Association. And so at that point, we realized we had more to do than the $350,000 that CCDC was going to bring to the table was going to allow us to do. Coincidentally, there was federal funding available through the Community District Block Grant funding that was able to serve the need for public facilities. And so the strong feedback we were receiving with regard to a need for a restroom was able to be met through those federal funds. So that's why the restroom facility kind of went through a different approval process, not just because it was federal funding, but also because it was a different permitting need. So part of the reason we're before you today with this update is because there's a new addition of a restroom, and also we are refreshing the existing amenities and features on site.
Madam President, Commission members, Sarah, so the total amount for all of this, everything that's going to be done, isn't $350,000.
No, I believe between the restroom, the Community District block grant, and the funding from CCDC, it's about $700,000 total in investment and enhancement dollars for this downtown park.
great. Thank you very much. I think that concludes the presentation portion, and we can move forward into our public hearing. As a reminder, individuals are permitted 3 minutes unless you're representing a neighborhood association, please say so, and we will allow 10. When you're called up, please state your name and address at the podium. In the room, we have our first sign up of Matt Reese. Did I get it?
Hi, members of the commission. My name is Matt Reese. My address is 499 Main Street, Boise, Idaho. I'm 1 block away from C.W. Moore Park. I'm an architect, been practicing architecture here in Boise for over 30 years. And my office is in the Belgravia building, and I've been there for over 20 years. And I walk through that park at least two times a day, sometimes 4 times a day. So I'm very familiar with the park. I'm pleased to see that we're addressing some of the needs of, I think it's been a kind of neglected park over the decades. It's needed new paint, and some of the concrete's had problems, and we've had some trees that have died and have never been replaced. So I look forward to all that. But I'm mainly here to speak in opposition of the location of the restroom where it's being placed. It's right off one of the main entry points, the main large sandstone arch that comes in off of Main Street. And as you enter the park, you're just going to see this industrial looking restroom facility. This is a historic theme park, has historic elements in it, in a historic district. And a lot of things in that park were really, really well thought out when it was designed. And I feel like the restroom that's being proposed is just awful. And it's right out front. It's just like, your first thing you see is just this industrial looking thing. I mean, it looks like something you'd put out in the Ada County landfill and not this park. And so I would like the commission just take a second look at that and just say, is this really an appropriate location for this restroom? People will tell you, well, we need restrooms, and we've had surveys. Our building, I'm president of the homeowners association of the Belgravia building, and we've never been asked about any surveys or the need of a restroom. So I can't really speak, scientifically whether you need one or not. But the question I have for the commission is, you're building another park half a block away from scratch. And so there's the opportunity there to properly site plan a restroom, properly screen it. And as I understand that park is being built without a restroom. So I don't quite understand why this park and not the other park. It really kind of appears that the other park is going to be geared more for larger public events. It's off of 6th Street, closer to the activity by the Basque Block. But my main concern is just the location and the design of the restroom being proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I
have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
If you want to come back up. So just if you could clarify maybe for me, is it your preference would be no restroom, or do you have an alternative location within the park?
If you look at the Portland Lou's website and their criteria on where they're supposed to be located, you want high visibility, but so that, there's issues with these types of restrooms. And it is hard to site plan these things, especially when you're dealing with an existing park. I think the Cherie Buckner Webb, they did it right. They were able to locate it to where it was high visibility, a lot of traffic, a lot of people could see it, but it was in the corner, not in the middle of the park activities, and it's screened with landscaping. And so I think that was an example of how you would want to do it. And I think you have that ability to do that in the Grove Street Park. I'm just opposed to the actual location of it, just right off the main entry of the park, and then also just the design of it. it's just awful. It does not fit in with the park at all. It is a historic theme park.
Very good. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Please.
I actually got a question for you, Mr. Reese.
Sorry.
Sorry. Just barring any other changes, we have a lot of boxes that are in a lot of really nice corners of things, and traffic boxes. We've tried wrapping them to make them to enhance the space. Barring any other changes to this restroom, this location, do you think that maybe that there's an opportunity for our arts department to look at beautifying an industrial looking thing and making it, providing maybe some more historic character to the space? Is that something you'd like to see if there were no other changes?
I think if they had put in a restroom originally, they would have had a different design that would have been more compatible with the theme, just the character of that park. And the second question is just the location of it. When you walk into a building, you don't just put the restroom right there, right off the front door. It's usually off to the side a little bit, convenient to where you can see it or get to it, but it's not the main focus. It's not shouldn't be the first thing you see.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're ready to move on to our next person, if we may. So the next person to call up is Victor Miller.
Thank you. I'd like to add some things to the record after, if I may. I'm Victor Miller. I live 834 West Two Rivers Lane in Eagle. My wife and I own 2 units at the Belgravia. After reviewing the proposed master plan for the proposed C.W. Moore Park, I still believe that a bathroom should not be installed at the park for 4 reasons. 1, the loo ignores safety concerns. I reached out directly to Evan Madden, the sales manager of Portland Loo, which is a proxy for this one, and he sent me a white paper summarizing the results of a questionnaire sent out by Washington, D.C. to more than 24 cities that use the public bathrooms. In it, cities mention many relevant safety issues relative to the location of a bathroom in a park like C.W. Moore. First, C.W. Moore installation ignores every single crime prevention through environmental design principle laid out by the manufacturer itself. It is not in an open, visible location with a lot of pedestrian and vehicular traffic during the day and night. It is not in or near a commercial area where eyes can be kept on the restroom during every part of the day. It does not have good street lighting at night, and there are no arrangements have been made for the police or other monitoring at night. Additionally, in the Washington, D.C. study, it acknowledges that issues will arise after installing these restrooms. In 40 cities across Canada and the U.S., some of the issues are criminal activity, shooting up, prostitution, arson, public nuisance issues, graffiti, sleeping inside, and camping. Maintenance issues, broken locks, hinges, and hardware, inappropriate items flushed down the toilet, and frozen pipes. All these issues could create serious unintended safety risks and significant cost to the city. No budget has ever been laid out for this on the ongoing maintenance budget. 2, the location of a Portland Loo at C.W. Moore Park is inconsistent with actual locations of these public restrooms throughout the country. In pictures given to us by Portland Loo themselves, it clearly shows that loos have been located in places with open sight lines, very, very public places. Why? Because these locations adhere to the crime prevention through environmental design principles I mentioned earlier. 3, the Portland Loos are not installed in close proximity to buildings. The proposed C.W. Moore site location for the Portland Loo is within 20 feet of the C.W. Moore Apartments building, 25 feet from the Belgravia building. The Portland Loo installed at Sri Buckner Webb Park with its open sight lines near traffic and parking lots near businesses seems the proper location consistent with other cities. But C.W. Moore is just the opposite. It does not have open sight lines, has little traffic. In fact, the drawings that are highlighted about the park show that 2 sides are hidden by buildings, the other 2 sides hidden by plant material, specifically trees and bushes. So there's absolutely no sight line into the park, which again is a big issue. 4th, in its own March 17, 2023 memo, the Parks and Recreation Department study admits a bathroom at C.W. Park is not needed potentially from April to October only on weekends and only after 6. And the
Our-
park averages only 10 events per
Our
year.
3 minutes has lapsed.
This
Thank
does
you
not
very much.
legitimize a full-time bathroom.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not aware of what the process is for taking additional.
Yeah, you can.
So these are pictures, and this is the study from the Washington DC, and my statement for each one of you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I don't have anyone else signed up in the room. Is there anyone online waiting for testimony?
Madam President, there is nobody on Zoom currently.
Okay. I think at that point, we're ready to close public testimony. Any further conversation, or are we ready to move forward with the adoption of the master
Madam
plan?
President,
Yes.
I just thank you guys for your input. I really appreciate that you took the time out here to talk to us about your concerns. I'm always glad to hear, especially neighbors, hear what they have to say about these master plans. I did want to just clarify an issue since, as Sarah mentioned, our approval of that bathroom happened on a separate process. If during our approval as written, if we, if we make the motion as written, what's the effect, I guess, in terms of, is there room for further discussions on this bathroom? I just wasn't clear since we had already approved the bathroom at a different meeting.
Madam President, Commission members, the restroom went through, because it's in a historical district, went through a little bit different process. It went through the Historical Commission, went through Planning and Zoning, and then it was appealed to the City Council and went through the City Council as well. Made it through all those processes of approvals. And then it's reinserted back into the master plan as presented to you, which also includes some of the other components that Ian described in the master plan update. So the restroom, yes, went through a separate approval process. It now gets embedded into the overall master plan to upgrade and refresh the park. So I hope that answers your question. So your approval here is the approval of the master plan, which includes all of the refreshing components that Ian and Jason outlined, as well as the restroom as well.
So I guess I have a follow-up question. So my question is, in approving this master plan, is there a modification we can make in terms of that bathroom? Is my question being, and maybe this is, I've been here a while, but I don't have it all figured out. Is there a way we can approve this, while while looking into concerns around this amenity?
Madam President, Commissioner, so the short answer is if we approve if you approve the master plan, it goes forward as approved. You can put some modifications that would ask the department to be able to look at alternatives for the restroom. What I would do is I would have Jason, not to put him on the spot, to re-enter the conversation to talk about, we did look at all sites throughout the site, and this is the location for the restroom. We did get significant feedback from the Downtown Business Association and from other business owners that there was a need for a restroom in this location. The park location that one of the testimonial feedback we got today was that why not look at 521 Grove, which is CCDC's building a park that'll become part of Parks and Recreation. There was not an opportunity to put a restroom at that location. And this location already had been discussed as a potential restroom at this site. So that was moving forward already. I believe there is some screening. There is some vegetation that'll be around the restroom. I'm not sure exactly what all that looks like, because I heard two different things on testimony. One, want it more visible. One, don't want it visible. And so I'm not sure, how we address some of those concerns. Jason, if you want to maybe address that with the commission real quick, but I think we were very limited in where the location could be for the restroom.
Yeah, yes, Doug, you are correct. We were very limited with the location of the restroom. Some of it has to do with the utilities. Some of it has to do with the location of the structure to other positions within the park. We did explore numerous options. We did listen as well, and we adjusted the restroom. For right now, it's currently, the alley is being used, the concrete pad that was identified earlier. That's where we're putting portable restrooms every time we have an event. And so we heard that concern. We put the building within the building setback line within the park, and further locations within the park would essentially severely disrupt the park and having to put in utilities and infrastructure to the park. We feel with lighting and visibility, with the new improvements on Grove Street, that this is the ideal location of the park without kind of just really severely disrupting the character of the park. And we did do numerous visual analysis during this process. We did a 3D model which shows the sight lines are visible. We addressed the SEPTED concerns that were brought up as well. It doesn't have, barriers for access. It does have open lines, visibility. And so all of those items were addressed throughout the approval process of the restroom, including looking at the color of the building and how it is to blend in with the site. It is a modern element. It's a modern accommodation within a historic park. We did our best to accommodate the concerns to make it fit within the character of this park.
I appreciate you going through that again, Jason, because I do recall when we were discussing the bathroom, when we approved the bathroom, the reasons that we had that design had been chosen in terms of safety for users as well as the overall community. So I just wanted to kind of, I guess, go through all that again, see, revisit it since these concerns had come up. Thank you.
I have a question probably for Director Holloway or Jason. I can't recall. I think the restroom was approved before the other park was proposed. What was the reason why a restroom couldn't fit in the new park? Was it utilities? The 521 Grove?
Yeah, Commissioner, Sarah's been involved in that design. I'm not sure what the CCDC, all the reasons why a restroom, it's a very small footprint for one thing. It's basically a small parking lot that will be converted into a small gathering space, smaller than our CW Moore footprint.
And it also was went through a very rigorous public process, and that was not a concern that was brought forward during the design of that. So CCDC really did a good effort. I had a ton of public meetings, and that was not on the top of the amenity list when the park is being developed. So.
What phase are we in? Are we just in comment section right now? Or questions, comments?
Yeah.
We're in the public testimony?
No, we're out of
the
the,
testimony's
yeah,
closed, yeah.
you guys are just having comments before we have a
Okay.
motion.
So I pulled up a photo of the Cherie Buckner Webb restroom versus the sample that's provided in our packet for CW Moore. They're different for sure. And I would say the CW or the Cherie Buckner Webb restroom is a little sleeker. Color fits in better. And so I would at least recommend that we try to incorporate that restroom. And do you see any problem with that, Jason?
So that's a really great question, and I think I described it throughout the process. We are a public agency, so based on there are multiple products that can be substituted for one another and considered to be the same product. And so when that project was bid, essentially the ROMTech version, which is a sidewalk restroom as well, isn't equal to the Portland Loo restroom. The Portland Loo was chosen because that project was developed and then it was donated to us, I believe, was how that came about. In this case, we went to a public bid. The Portland Loo or equal was in the bid, and the ROMTech version was chosen. So it's kind of like a Ford versus Chevy. This is a sidewalk restroom, and that's the generic spec that we included in our bid package. And we are ending up with a slightly different model. And I do know that our maintenance team is actually excited about it, given some of the challenges that they've had on the Cherie Buckner Webb one, with the hinges failing and some of the other things included as well. In addition, there's an external sink that kind of promotes like exterior use of basically pushes people to utilize the restroom in a much more expeditious way than what is done with the Sherry Buckner Webb. But it is an or equal product in the eyes of the, the state of Idaho and federal funding that we have.
And the color, can the color be modified?
We've already selected the color. It is more of like a taupe or more of a brownish color that's
So
been
the
selected.
color in our packet's not accurate. It's very,
Correct. That is just a mod,
Gray.
yeah,
Yeah.
Madam President, Commissioner Raber, that's like a standard piece taken out of the actual pamphlet.
yeah.
But I believe it's a different color than, it's not silver.
No, it is not.
And we could look at that too, commissioners. I mean, we can look at what the possibilities per Councilmember Morales' suggestion, is there something else that could be done with it? But does not disrupt the integrity of what the restroom is supposed to be used for at the end of the day.
And it was, my final question would be the location of the portable restrooms that are used. Would that not be an appropriate location for this one?
That's a great question. That's kind of where we started during this process, but again, it was closer to the the appellant's location as well. So it was real close to the alley. We need to respect the building setbacks that are in place here, and so we basically held a public meeting to discuss this when we started this process, and that was the immediate feedback that we received that they didn't want it any closer to the alley, and that unless there was a relevant reason, being within the building setbacks would be most appropriate. And we did listen, and we actually moved it further than the building setback away from the alley to kind of appease the adjacent landowner's concern with regard to that.
Madam President, and Doug or Sarah might be able to answer this. I have just a process question that would probably help Councilmember Morales and myself to understand. So if the Parks and Rec Commission approves the master plan, and let's say that there are issues with the bathroom, what would be the process in which to either change the location or to remove? Would you have to have another master plan hearing? Like what happens if we need to make modifications?
Madam President, Councilmember Willits, I guess I would ask what you're anticipating as being an issue as we start construction and we come across something different than what we would approve today. I don't believe we would necessarily have to go back through a master plan process. I think we could relocate the restroom to another location, but we've looked at other sites and there really is not another suitable location for it. I think what you would be looking at as a commission is say, we don't want a bathroom there.
Madam President and Director Holloway, thank you. I know that what we do in the public sphere is we do the best we can, and then we deal with the consequences as they come up, but we don't have a crystal ball all the time. And so what I'm trying to anticipate is what does it look like when we learn from things that we've done, and how do we move forward if something happens? And that's the genesis of my question. I don't know. I hope everything works out splendidly. I just want to know what the process is in case there are concerns, if the concerns that have been brought up come to fruition and there's a problem. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What are our options on the table?
Again, Madam President, Councilmember Willis, I think our options would be is once we got it is, I guess I'm trying to anticipate all the processes this has gone through already and all the approvals it has had and appeals that it has endured to get to this point. I guess it would be, before we would ever even go down that road, we would just say, this commission has the authority to say we don't want a restroom there. You had the authority to say we don't want a restroom there when the appeal came to you this past year. And so it was approved during that process. Planning and zoning had an opportunity to also make that decision and did not. And so our limits are very, very, that doesn't make sense. We are very limited when it comes to restrooms on what you can do, particularly in a downtown location, because of limited space and costs involved in building a nice brick, historical looking restroom there would just not be financially feasible, nor in a lot of cases are those actually appropriate. And again, council members, you are aware that we're putting in a different restroom, for example, at Road Skate Park. It'll be a very similar restroom to this style. The current restroom we have there is a brick and mortar and does not work there at that location. So if there's going to be a restroom, this is a style that does work in an urban setting. And so, yeah, so it would be this body saying they don't want to have a restroom at that location is really what I think would come down to. Because once we get it put in, and then if there was pushback from the public, like this is awful, this is terrible, this is destroying the character of the park, and it's bad, and a lot of bad things are occurring with it, then yeah, it could always be removed at a significant cost and need to be back to square one with no restroom there. So I think our options are restroom or no.
Madam President, Doug, thank you so much. I do see the change orders that come through on the budget. I know you do too. And I know that you try to do everything on the front end to make sure that we stay on budget on time. And thanks for helping me just understand what the process is. Appreciate it.
Trevor, was there something you wanted to add here since you're, okay, cool.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate the dialogue and making sure that we all understand all of the elements in play here in this complicated restroom situation. But barring any further conversation or questions and comments, I think we're ready to talk about whether or not the commission is going to approve the master plan update, please. Is there a motion?
Yeah, given our discussion, I move that we approve the master plan for CW Moore Park as presented.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank
And then
you.
there should be time for discussion after a second.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we can definitely have discussion.
Madam President, I would like to amend the approval with a comment that says we need to make it visually appealing if the location can't be changed. Because I really do, I mean, this picture's in the packet and it's industrial and it doesn't fit the park in my opinion. So I would like to make an amendment that we approve the master plan with a focus on making it more visually appropriate for the park.
And I look back at legal. We need a second too. Okay. Is there a second to amend the motion as presented?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Now
Any
we need to
further
vote on
comment?
the first.
We vote on the first or the second? Primary motion with the amendment. Okay. And so now a second to support that. Thank you for clarifying. And did I hear a second?
Yeah, I think yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Do we ask for abstentions or anything in the city? I can't remember, but all right. It sounds as though the approval is approved.
Yes.
Thank you. My understanding is that we do not have a need for an executive session today. Is that correct? Thank you. In that case, we'll be looking for a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. Does that require a second? Yeah. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you.